Imagine a world where every year feels poorer, yet the charts swear we're richer and the rent still eats dinner. Imagine governments celebrating record GDP like it's a victory parade, while potholes breed faster than startups and salaries stay sedated. Imagine the global economy as a treadmill bolted to a cliff, and policymakers sprinting harder because stopping looks like treason. The popular story says growth slows because people got lazy or lost optimism, like an economy is a motivational poster. But the dirty secret is darker. The machine is still running, it's just burning fuel to stand still. If you're here for the comforting lie, close the tab. If you want the mechanism, welcome to the vault. Here's the thesis. Nations didn't get rich by growing forever, they got rich by winning one time compounding advantages. Growth wasn't a law of nature, it was a historical loophole, and the paperwork is now being audited. Stat check. Across many rich countries, trend growth looks lower than mid century decades, even after adjusting for booms and busts. Today, we break down 7 defenses that once powered growth and why each defense is now cracking quietly everywhere. No ideology, no slogans, just incentives, physics, demographics, and the kind of accounting tricks that smile during recessions. And yes, there's cynicism because hope is cheap. The expensive part is explaining what replaced the old growth engine. First defense, demographics, the quiet army behind every boom, marched forward when populations were young and expanding. When more workers enter than retire, everything gets easier taxes, innovation, consumption, like gravity switched off for budgets. Now the age pyramid is becoming a column, then an inverted iceberg, and the math turns from tailwind to drag. Japan showed the preview more elders, fewer buyers, and policymakers inventing new money like it's duct tape for time. Europe followed, then China blinked, because even manufacturing empires can't outsource having babies. Lesson. When the worker to dependent ratio falls, growth must fight biology, and biology rarely loses, it just invoices you slowly. Second defense, productivity, the miracle of doing more with less, powered by electrification, sanitation, and mass education. Those were big inventions, the kind that rewire life, not just add another app that orders snacks faster. Now watch this. Innovation keeps happening, but its impact spreads thin, like butter scraped across a continent-sized spreadsheet. Stat check. Business investment often leans toward buybacks and mergers, not bold new capacity, because safety pays better than genius. Even AI, the new profit, needs electricity, data, and trust, 3 things governments ration when they panic. Lesson. Productivity booms are rare jackpots, not monthly salaries, and modern economies are acting like the jackpot is guaranteed. Third defense, cheap debt, the growth steroid that let countries pull tomorrow's consumption into today's political calendar. When rates fall for decades, everything looks smart. Houses, stocks, governments, like the tide itself is your personal business plan. Then the bill arrives, higher rates, aging populations, and mountains of promises stacked like Jenga blocks in a windy room. Stat check, many countries carry debt levels that would have triggered panic in the earlier eras, but central banks learned hypnosis. Debt also funds unproductive things, status projects, defensive bureaucracy, and corporate zombies kept alive like fragile museum exhibits. Lesson. Borrowing can accelerate growth once, but living on credit turns economies into insurance firms selling optimism at escalating premiums. Fourth defense. Energy, the hidden master variable, because growth is basically organized combustion with better branding. The 20th century ran on dense fuels. One barrel moved armies, fed factories, and lit cities like portable sun in a drum. Now energy is geopolitics, and geopolitics is insurance. Pipelines, shipping lanes, sanctions, everyone paying to avoid worst-case headlines. Transition helps, but it's not magic. New grids, storage, minerals, growth slows while we rebuild the road we're driving on. Be honest in the comments. Should growth count when it comes from burning the future, or is that just elegant theft? And if your retirement depends on infinite expansion, who exactly is forced to expand, the planet or the people? Lesson, energy sets the ceiling, and lately we've been renovating the ceiling while arguing about the paint color. Fifth defense, globalization, the old growth cheat code. Cheap labor, cheap goods, and supply chains stretched like obedient spaghetti. It boosted profits and tamed inflation, but it also built dependencies, and dependencies become weapons when trust evaporates. Now watch this. Friendshoring and strategic autonomy sound noble, but they're just costlier production wearing a flag. Stat check, trade growth has cooled versus peak hyper-globalization years. while industrial policy budgets swell like wartime ration books. Security spending rises too, cyber, drones, missiles, because every supply chain now needs a Blackwater grade risk assessment. Six defense, institutions, the boring superpower, courts, contracts, and predictable rules that let strangers cooperate at scale. When trust is high, capital moves fast. When trust decays, money hides like a witness in a mob trial. Regulatory drag also grows. More forms, more compliance, more audits, because every scandal writes a new chapter of paperwork. Meanwhile, corruption and polarization turn policy into whiplash, and investors price whiplash like insurers price hurricanes. Stat check, rule of law measures and governance quality correlate with income, but maintaining them costs attention. Societies are losing. Lesson: institutions are growth's invisible scaffolding, and when scaffolding weakens, even strong buildings start creaking at night. Seventh defense: distribution, because growth isn't just production, it's whether people can actually buy what gets produced. Inequality can raise headline GDP while choking demand, like a restaurant thriving by serving 12 courses to one table. Monopoly power also skims the stream: tolls on platforms, rents on housing, fees on life, growth redirected into fortresses. Lesson: if gains concentrate, societies trade momentum for tension, and tension is expensive to police, subsidize, and soothe. Put it together, and the myth collapses. We're not bad at growth, we're paying new costs the old era ignored. Growth used to be a rising tide. Now it's a negotiated settlement between biology, physics, politics, and the balance sheet. Stat check: when inflation bites, voters demand protection, and protection is rarely efficient. It's usually fast, loud, and expensive. The cruel paradox is that mature economies become more risk averse, so they invest less in the very disruption growth requires. Emerging economies face a different trap. Climbing the ladder gets harder when rich countries start pulling rungs back in panic. And the measurement gets weird: services, subscriptions, digital goods. Sometimes we count convenience as output, like charging admission to breathe. So, what replaces the old story? Not collapse, something colder, slower, managed, security first economies optimized like bunkers with Wi Fi. In that world, wealth behaves differently. Assets tied to scarcity win, while fantasies priced on infinite expansion quietly bleed. This is why economic growth is slowing everywhere. The one time tailwinds became headwinds, and the engine now powers maintenance. Final thought: the myth isn't that growth exists, the myth is that it's automatic, eternal, and free of trade offs. Every country is a mirror here. Some just have nicer lighting and better public relations around the same slowing gears. Next video, we'll name the winners and losers of the slow growth era and why security becomes the hottest asset class. Like, subscribe, and tell me, would you rather live in a fast growth illusion or slower truth with receipts?